Welcome back to Spirit Squared. I'm Andrew Darrington, the host, and tonight we come to you from the Humidor, which I'm looking very forward to. We've got an audience tonight, which I'm very excited about, and I think this is episode 15 for us, Josh. I'm really looking forward to the information we're going to get tonight, and glad to have a lot of friends with us tonight as well. So, without further ado, we've got Blake Young here tonight.
How y'all doing?
Great to have you. You're a co-owner of the Humidor,
yes,
as well as Vault Arms.
Yes, sir.
You're from Tyler?
Yeah, I'm originally from Tyler. Was born and raised here. My mom and dad were born and raised here. My mom moved here from Dallas, I guess, when she was a little younger. But pretty much grew up here her whole life. My grandfather established roots in this area many, many years ago. He started Atlas Credit in 1968. Then me and my family kind of got together after he had kind of passed on the torch and started running that business together. And I had some very, close friends at that time that helped me kind of get that business together. Some really good people around me, and it's been great ever since.
Yeah. By the way, I jacked it up already. We're having a little bit of the Tequila Ocho. This is the new Widow Jane Añejo release for this year. Very yummy, very good stuff. So, what was it like growing up in Tyler?
I had a pretty standard upbringing. Went to Robert E. Lee, graduated from there in '09. Got to have the standard kind of high school experience. Made a little bit of a run at college, but my life kind of took a bit of a different turn than most people kind of who are brought up in what you would call a better lifestyle or whatever it is. I got off into what you would call a harder time of drugs and kind of alcohol for several years during that time until I was about 21 years old. And I moved to Maine at that time and actually got to live for a couple of years up there and made some lifelong friendships up there and got to really kind of reassess my life. I got into meditation and yoga and kind of all this stuff that really help center me and kind of bring me out of that lifestyle back into what you would call normal.
Like some Aaron Rodgers stuff.
Yeah.
Close the door, turn the light off.
Yeah, just me and my friends, we would have meditation groups up there that we would lead. I led some different, AA groups up there. I was on the board of a few of those. And
where is it at in Maine?
Portland, Maine.
Portland, okay,
yeah,
cool.
South Portland proper. That's where all my friends were. Like I said, we would lead a Sunday group up there, us about 10 people. And I did that for 2 years, man, and got to serve in a community up there of recovering addicts and got to help watch some other people get sober and kind of pass that on to people as they came through the ranks.
Awesome. My wife and I took a trip up there. It is absolutely gorgeous, especially around September, October.
Yes.
We flew into Boston, drove up to Portland, and then we did Kitty Bunkport, and we also did Bar Harbor. It was really fun.
One of my favorite things about Portland, man, and it's something that's kind of just translated me through life, is they have a crazy cool coffee community, which got me really into like craft coffee or boutique coffee, and they have a really cool local restaurant community.
Oh, okay.
So a big part of the thing up there, they don't do billboards in the downtown locations like proper. They don't do AC units on the outside of the houses.
Right.
They're all historical brownstones. And so it leaves the opportunity for, local restaurants and local business owners to really flourish. And so, coming from Tyler, where everything's kind of commercialized and different, it showed me a world that I'd never really, seen before in this whole boutique kind of craft thing.
Yeah.
And it opened my eyes to, what people were really doing when they invested all their energy into, a specific subject, whatever it may be.
Right. So you get done there, you come back to Tyler?
Yeah. So, obviously, like I was saying, my grandfather started Atlas. In a few years of me being up there, he was reaching out to me again saying, you're starting to get to the age where I want you to come into the family business. You're the oldest grandson. I'd like for you to kind of come in and take over and help. I've got another guy named Brandon Mays, who's now a brother of mine and a very, very dear friend of mine. But he's already kind of coming in as a financial person, and I want you as a member of our family to kind of come in. And so at the time, I was talking to my now wife, Virginia. She was at the time pregnant with not my child, which is kind of a whole other part of my story.
I'm right there with you, brother. I have an adopted son.
And so I got to actually come down here and be a part of the birth of who was my first child, Xander, and became a dad before I ever knew what really being a dad was like.
I'm right there with you.
At 23 years old, being a dad is a weird experience, but I can tell you, it changed me forever in a very good way. It gave me a different purpose that you've never really experienced before.
Right. Living for someone else.
Yeah. It changes things for you. It changes your reasons for doing stuff. And it's weird because as I lived in Maine, the longer I did, the culture up there is so different from East Texas. I mean, it could not be further, honestly, from the culture here. And I started to get this idea in my head, I'm never having kids.
Right.
You know, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But then the first moment I held that little child, it changes you forever. It really does.
Absolutely. So you're at Atlas, you're doing your thing.
Yes.
And so how does Vault get kind of started?
So me and Brandon, the guy I was talking about earlier, we started hunting and kind of shooting guns together. It was a passion that I've shared since I was a little boy. My grandfather on my mom's side taught me how to shoot guns when I was 8 years old, and I held a gun in my hand every year from then on. I started hunting when I was 10, 11, and so when I got back to Tyler and got back into the Texas life, I was like, I want to start hunting and fishing and get back into the things that I missed for so many years. And it turns out Brandon was really into that as well. Mm-hmm. So we would every year make these pilgrimages off to, you know, wherever to go do a high fence hunt or an exotic hunt, whatever it is. And on the rides back, we would all just start talking about our dreams and things we really wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I remember distinctly we were coming back from Oklahoma, and Brandon was in the back seat, my brother was in the front seat. And Brandon asked me, he's like, you think we should open a gun store? And it was just kind of one of those weird moments where it's something we've talked about, you know, many times. Mm-hmm. And it kind of just led me down a whole different path in my life that I never really expected to go down. Mm-hmm. Because I said, well, how hard is it? He said,
right.
He said, well, it looks pretty easy. And that was the funniest thing he could have ever said. If you know, you've also being in this industry, you know how funny that is.
Right.
You have all this anticipation of what it's going to be, of what you're going to do, and how you're going to kick in every door, and you're going to sell everything, and then you start making phone calls, and you're like, oh, okay, this is why not everybody does this, why everybody's not equipped to do it.
Yeah, all the legal tangles and responsibility, too.
The liability of it is certainly high, and you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. You have to want to be a responsible person in the industry. Yep. You have to want to train people and educate them. You can't just want to sell them a gun just so they can go use it for whatever purpose.
It's not a typical retail situation because there's so much responsibility that's tied to it. Right. I mean, we all know that people pull the trigger, but there's a lot of education behind it. Yes. And not only that, but owning an FFL in itself is its own responsibility to the public.
Very much so. You're stating to the public, I am a person that you can trust to hold a large quantity of guns and distribute them to who needs that.
Right.
It's a high calling.
Yeah. So what's unique about Humidor that's maybe different than other gun stores locally?
I
said Humidor. Sorry, Vault.
Which is fine. The Vault is unique in the sense that we saw a niche in the market where, you were talking about training earlier. Mm-hmm. There's not a very good gun range around here. There's a lot of open air ones, and then there's some training facilities, which are great. I have nothing against some of those places, but we wanted to bring Tyler, we felt like something they were missing, which is an indoor experience where they could gain different levels of training. Right. Be that from starter level to learn how to counter an active shooter in a live fire situation. We offer all those kind of classes. So it kind of led us down that path first. And when we started seeing the void in that market, it showed us that, you know, the gun market is riddled with the same problem where you just have somebody trying to make a sale. You don't have somebody trying to educate you or make a lifelong partnership with you. And so that's our main goal, is to build something that is a relationship and a bond with our customers, to give them a place where they can learn and feel comfortable that they could send their wife, their daughter, or just their son who's new to buying a gun, whatever it is, to us, and know we're not just going to sell them some junk just because we want to sell them. Right. We're going to sell them what we think they need, and we're going to sell them the best product for what they want to spend, not try to force something.
You guys just recently moved, right?
Yes, a big part of it. We opened our first location downtown. A big part of that was to have the range. There's a lot of areas in Middle Tyler where it's not feasible to have one.
Right.
It was an opportunity where we purchased a large-scale building. It had the space in it, so we were like, we'll put a range here. And for the range, it's done incredibly well.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get a little bit more into the foot traffic of Tyler and be a little more central and get our brand out there to a little bit more people. So we moved right down there to Mardell and Hobby Lobby right in October of last year. We've had our first several months there. I mean, I'm telling you, man, like, you build up these ideas in your head of like, I'm going to move and it's going to do X, or I'm going to move and it's going to do Y. And you hope that it does all those things, but when you actually get to see it all kind of come together and see people really start to appreciate what you're doing, it really feels good.
You also, in conversations off camera, you said that the people that worked at your store, you saw a difference in them too.
Yeah, so the unique part of why we were able to kind of see it to fruition, because yes, me and Brandon have all these other things that we are devoted to and we have full attention on. I'm in the unique position where I had a cousin who is very, very close to me and very dear to me, who had run a retail gun store for 10 years. And so he knew the ins and outs of it all.
Right.
And one of his best friends at that location was a gunsmith that has been doing it for 15 years.
Right.
And so, you know, the two pieces of the puzzle that we saw missing with the gunsmithing and with that retail service, where you want somebody that knows what they're talking about, you know, and it takes time. Like, you've seen it. Like, you can put somebody in there who's been around guns their whole life, and they can have all the confidence in the world, but until they have sat there and sold guns day in and day out, they don't understand really what that takes. And so it put us in a unique position where we had experience on our side, and it allowed us to gain an edge where we felt like there was one to be had.
Yeah, I thought I took my license to carry class there, and you talk about thorough. I mean, very, very thorough.
Adam Riggle was the instructor.
I can't remember his name, but he was thorough.
Okay.
And if Adam's thorough, then that's who I had.
Adam is the original guy who opened up our range. He was he worked at the Tyler PD. He actually went back. Felt called to go back, and he helped us start that range. And that man is very, very capable. It's the best way you could put it, and has a high level of understanding from his military background, his SWAT training, all that kind of stuff. He still teaches our LTC classes. Right?
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, like your LTC class, you go in. There's a whole program preparation, class work. Then you have to take a test, written test. You got to pass it.
And we can handle all of that. So a lot of places you go to, they want you to have your online or written portion done already. Then you go do a shooting portion. Yeah. We can handle it all in-house. It's one fee, 1 day, one class, one teacher. So it all kind of works out a lot more fluid for people. And we'd like to get to the point where we can do fingerprinting. So that's something we've talked a bit about, because that would be the entire LTC package in one place. But there's a little bit of fun with that. You have to actually be identico.
Right.
It's not just, hey, I do fingerprinting.
Well, they're camping out in Army Navy store right now.
That's why we think maybe it's possible. So we're going to see where it goes. If it's not burdensome and it's just a good addition, again, that's where, like you asked, what's different about us. We want to add value to our customers. So we won't put in something that won't be well received or utilized. And if it is, we like to change it or fix it.
One funny moment, when I took my LTC, I brought a PMR 30. Okay, that's not pretty unusual gun for somebody to burn, right? But I love shooting it.
Okay.
And for those that don't know, PMR 30, you can load 30 rounds. And so when you're doing your qualifying, you're shooting 5 rounds, then you shoot 6 rounds, and then you shoot 5 rounds. And it's so there's a guy next to me that has a revolver, and he's shooting a revolver.
I was about to say, you have everything from revolver to PMR 30.
Right, and so your guy was like, so what's your magazine capacity? And I said 30, and he went, huh? And I went, yeah. He's like, well, you're not gonna have to reload, because that's what you're doing. You're
perfect.
Okay, boom, 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 boom. Yep. Reload, and I just sit there with the same magazine, just bam, bam.
I love it, man. That's what we want, right? We want people to come in and have fun. It is a serious thing. We want it to have its serious moments, but we also want people to cut loose a little bit. So, speaking of that, we start a men's night and a women's night. And so, once a month, we have this little deal where a group of women or a group of men get together, and we'll have a battleship shootout, which is just a little shooting game that you can play.
Oh, cool.
All this, and we'll do little prizes and stuff like that. So, it's all to build community. So, it makes me happy to hear people are having fun.
Right.
Even when it's LTC, it's something you think about. It's not
So other than Indigo, possibly, maybe camped out outside or something.
Right.
We can make a temporary building for them or something. What other things in the future do you see for the vault? Hey, keep trying to do the humidor.
No, you're fine.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah, because we're here.
So for vault, the part I did mention of the whole piece, and it's just because it's its whole separate deal. We are a manufacturer. We're not just an FFL holder. We're not just a retailer. We do carry a manufacturer's license at that location. So our pet project that we've been working on for the past couple of years, we've been building custom bolt action rifles.
Okay.
And we do all of the fitting on the barrels. So we get a blank, we'll turn it down, we'll shoulder it, we'll ream it, and then we'll blueprint it to a custom action that has our serial number, name, all that good stuff on it.
Okay.
We make sure these guns are at least half-inch or better accuracy on the 100-yard MOA.
Okay.
And these guns are lifetime guaranteed. We work on them forever. So that's what we're really trying to build, is a brand outside of just retail space. We want to have an actual gun brand that we're standing behind. Behind closed doors, that's something we're working very, very hard on. I have a call tomorrow with a barrel blank company.
Gotcha.
Looking to see what they can get us as far as inventory.
So we got a new location. We got potentially new rifles.
There would be 2, maybe 3 models at that point, and then just pure custom line.
Right.
So we'd like to have a repeatable thing. We want to be an actual brand, not just a one-off custom shop. The custom ground is the proving ground, right? Like that's where you hone in all the desires, all the little things you want. But then we're going to morph that into a repeatable product that we can mass produce. And we'd like to really break into the gun industry in the next 5 to 10 years.
Cool, man.
Vault Arms is your premier destination for all things firearms. Extensive selection of handguns, rifles, shotguns, and accessories. Knowledgeable staff to assist you in finding the perfect firearm to fit your needs. State-of-the-art gun range equipped with the latest technology for a safe and thrilling shooting experience. Take advantage of our professional shooting instruction and training programs suitable for all skill levels. Host your next group outing, corporate event, or bachelor party at our spacious and secure shooting facility. Committed to promoting responsible gun ownership and firearm safety. Fully licensed and compliant with all state and federal regulations.
The next pour is ready. We're going to have, you guys went out in the humidor.
Yes.
You guys went out and sampled this. We have a couple people that actually did the sampling here,
yes,
right?
We do. Luke Lockman and Chris Rice are here that did the sampling.
Yep.
I think, Scott, you weren't here for that, were you? No. Okay.
I think it's on the back of this.
Mark Slaughter, I think, is here too.
Yeah, Jerry Payne, Mark Slaughter,
Jerry Payne's the only one.
Haas was in on it too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's on the side of the bottle. So we're gonna pour that up.
Yeah, Paco Javier, he's a barrel rep for Copper Sky Distillery. He sent us some samples, and we came up here and sampled one day. Part of a little membership deal we do up here, where you can get a pour.
Let those guys pour that. Very cool. So, how many barrels have you done so far?
That is our first barrel, and we've done a rum and another bourbon after that. So we've done 3.
What was the bourbon?
Oh,
the top.
The top.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We haven't put that one out yet, but that one is coming in the future.
Gotcha. It'll be for membership in March,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So, the humidor.
Yes.
Right? We're here now. Obviously, cool, very cool place. All these people love this spot. Every time I come here, it feels like Cheers.
Yeah, I was about to say,
it's like everybody knows everybody,
Yeah.
and smoking cigars, and it's like it's a place where guys can be guys. There's girls, obviously, welcome,
Sure.
but it's a bunch of guys. When I came in here earlier, there were guys smoking cigars and drinking coffee, and you could tell they come almost every day or every other day.
We have a standard set of about 10 to 15 guys that you'll see in here throughout the day at some point.
You said earlier that, or before we got on camera, that the humidor was kind of right around the same time as the vault.
Yes.
How did that work? Like launching 2 businesses at the same time? That's pretty difficult.
Yeah, I'm a person that does not fear challenge. It's not that challenge isn't hard for me. It's that I'm not afraid to take on a challenge. And neither is Brandon. That's kind of one of our best things that we work well together. Neither of us are afraid of that. But we had this big dream that when we were opening the vault, We wanted there to be this smoker's lounge in there where guys could come in and have a cigar while they were hanging out, either after shooting, before shooting, or, you know, some version of that. And at the time, we started looking at licensing for doing, you know, getting a tobacco license and a distributor's license. And, you know, the cost of doing it and the effort of doing it is a little bit high, kind of like, not to the level of guns, but similar. Mm-hmm. And at the time, the Humidor happened to be up for sale, and we started discussing, does it just make sense to buy an existing business that already has the licensing, that already has all the things we need, and just kind of convert it into what we're looking for. And I mean, I'll tell you, the more we've dug into this place, like you said, you come in here and from day one, those same guys that you see were in here supporting this place from the moment we opened the doors back up.
Right.
And so at first it was this idea of, oh, it's just this little side project, you know, whatever.
It's something fun.
Yeah, and it very quickly turned into something that I really liked and truly enjoyed. It wasn't the cigars, like I said, it wasn't just the atmosphere or whatever. It was the people that are here, and it's a big draw for me to come after a hard day of work, working on all these projects, to sit with a group of guys that, you know, you can cut loose with and just hear how their day was, as opposed to how mine was. I talked to so many people about what I do. So that's what it's turned into. It's a getaway from me and the guys as well.
And the thing is like these guys that are here, these are solid guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like these are guys that you ask for advice from.
Sure.
You want to be around.
Oh yeah. No, I spend time.
There's some of them in the future, you know, and I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but people that are going to be, you know, co-owners of things with you,
involved in businesses with us.
Yeah, involved.
In many facets, and it's crazy the diversity of the groups that are here. I mean, we have guys that are realtors, we have guys that work in AC, we have guys that work in finance, lawyers, all over the place. And what's really cool is to see that diverse group of people sit there and just have a completely normal conversation about something that has nothing to do with any of those subjects.
Right.
And to connect, like you said, on a deeper level where they're talking about businesses together, they're talking about their hopes and dreams and their stresses and worries.
Family members.
Yeah, like we've had guys that have come to me, you know, and told me they've dealt with depression and all types of stuff, and they've come here as an outlet for that, as a way to connect with people when they felt lonely. And I mean, that's a really crazy thing to hear as a business owner. You know, you think you're just doing this to be in business, you know, support your employees, do those things, but then you hear all those little things that make it so much more worthwhile.
Yeah.
And it's what takes it from being, like you said, that little fun thing that we wanted to do to like a real experience for people, and it makes it worthwhile. It makes it fulfilling instead of just something you do.
What do you think that the Humidor does that maybe some other places that kind of have the same business model?
Sure.
What do you think the Humidor offers people that may be a little better value?
It's a great question because, I mean, if you come in and you start looking at the cigars, they're all in some, you know, they may be, you know, a certain price or they may be this or that. But that's not why we want people here. You can buy cigars online. You can buy cigars anywhere.
That's
we
right.
definitely sell cigars. It's our main form of income at the business. But what we like to see is these chairs full of people having camaraderie, bringing in more business. And when they see a new guy walk in, they draw him in to their group and they say, come have a pour with us. Come smoke this. Come try this. You've never seen this before, you know. And then outside of that, we want to bring a boutique cigar experience.
Yeah.
You can go get Arturo Fuente. You can go get, you know, you can get that anywhere, like I said earlier. We want to bring in Steve Saka, you know, something that's harder to get online. Sober Mesa. You can get them online, but the people that carry them are much less in flow, I guess is a better way to say it. So we want to bring lines that people don't necessarily know about, because that's just the kind of style we like to carry, even with the bourbon and just everything else. It's not going to be the stock standard, everything you see.
Yeah, so when you're here, you have like the section that has like bottles that are labeled.
Sure.
What was it? How did that start?
So when we first bought it, they had killed kind of the BYOB thing. They wanted to really make people buy cigars and not just be what people were doing. And they kind of lost sight of what that lounge looked like. And so very quickly, when I got involved here, I wasn't really in the bourbon world. That was still kind of outside of me. I'd got through sobriety and everything.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It was I was on the outside of all these things. I was never really like terrified of them, but I just didn't really dabble. And you know, coming into this place and starting to talk to people about tequilas, bourbons, like all these things, I wanted to invest in that with them. And so I made my first trip out to Specs in 20 years or whatever it was, and started talking to the guys up there and realized, man, this is a cool industry as well. And so I started bringing bottles back around for the guys to share. And then just kind of, it spawned a whole thing where people just bring their bottles up here and they put their name on them. But when guys come out, they just bring them out and start sharing them around with everybody. It's almost like a permanent bottle share community. It's the best way to look at it. You know, when the guy's here, he shares it with you. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, it's super unique to have a cigar. You don't have it anywhere else in town.
Sure.
You don't have an area where you can just go and you find your bottle, you pour up what you need to pour up or whatever, and then you're sharing it or you're talking about it.
Yep.
And then, and obviously, you know my passions are single barrels.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Unique single barrels. And then to go behind your register and to see, like you see it one bottle and you're like, okay, I was part of that. Oh, wait a minute, I was part of that.
Yep.
Okay, and then you see somebody else's name on it.
Yep.
Because they want to make sure that it's protected, and
Yes.
but we also know that it's been shared
Yes.
and it's been celebrated or whatever. That's the part for me that's just awesome.
It's great to know that you know you picked something good based on like the fact that you like it. I mean, you enjoy it, so it's good to you. But it's always much more rewarding when you see the enjoyment spreading.
Oh, 100%.
I'm a big guy that like I don't mind getting gifts. They don't really matter that much to me. But I love giving gifts to people.
Sure.
And so,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's almost like when we get to do that and sit down with all these different pours and stuff and share it, you get to give gifts to people that maybe don't get to try some of these things before in their life, you know?
A lot of times when I look at those bottles, I think about like when we did the pick.
Yeah.
Like what was that experience
Takes you
like?
back to the moment.
I'll tell you a story real quick. I haven't shared this with many people. And so during COVID, we got an opportunity for a fiddler pick. And Fiddler's pretty good bottle, like MGP. It's toasted barrels, toasted staves, and so but we're not supposed to be close to each other, right? And so I get the samples, and I get we kind of orchestrate the pick team, and one of the members has COVID, so he can't make it, right? And then so we're like, all right, where are we going to meet? We can't meet we're not supposed to meet in houses.
Right.
So we decided to meet in the oil building downtown in the mezzanine, okay? Because we would typically go to like Truvine, or we would go to like a brewery, and then we do these picks.
Sure.
Well, we're in the mezzanine of the oil building and downtown, and then we decide, all right, we need to make like a tent, like a hut, to where people don't know that we're all together.
Right,
so we pull all these chairs together. And we're sampling, and we're like, crouching down, making sure nobody knows that we're here, and people are passing by looking at us. It was like I'll never forget that experience.
Of course not.
And every time I see the bottle, I think of that.
To that moment. Yeah.
And the other thing is this, like a lot of people don't realize, and you've done a couple barrel picks, we're about to get into another one, but that and the folks that are here that have done a barrel pick, they know.
Sure.
Like, you're sampling something that's pretty small volume, like 2 ounces roughly, and you're making a $7,000 to $10,000 decision.
Yep.
Which is
it's a hot seat moment almost.
It's very unique.
Yep.
It's a very unique experience, and so you leave from that a lot of trust, especially when you start getting feedback.
Yes.
Like if you get positive feedback, then you start going, okay, who was on my team?
Right.
Who was on my team at that
and
time?
You want to reconvene those people, and you want to have that experience again.
Yeah. Oh, and look, I think both of us share the same personality. There's addiction in a lot of different ways, right?
Exactly.
So
me and my wife
So I mean, sometimes it's dark, but sometimes it's very, very positive.
It depends on where you're channeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, but you're always looking for feedback.
Yep.
Always. And so it's either feedback affirmative,
yes,
or you're grateful. You're looking for
matter what the feedback is. I just like I'm the same way.
Absolutely. If it's negative, hey, tell me more.
I can take
Help me understand.
Yep, I can.
What route do I need to change? How do I need to be better? Or what are you feeling about this?
Absolutely.
And so I think it's a unique experience that, man.
You get the opportunity to try. I mean, you have to do it.
Yeah,
you know,
you
somebody
definitely.
asks you to, or whatever
definitely.
it is, you got to try it. It's a lot of fun.
It is. It is. So, anything in the future for the Humidor? Anything new that we can talk about?
As far as the Humidor, we have something we didn't really go over deeply, but it's something definitely I want to. Next week, specifically on Thursday, we're doing a cocktail night where we have the neat experience with Chris Rice. We were talking about earlier. Big part of what we are starting to do here. He's going to do a cocktail curated and then going to bring it in and show it off for people to buy tickets and come in and have, I think it was 2 or 3 pours, Chris?
We're going to do
3?
3.
3.
Yeah.
You get 3 drinks for your ticket price.
Wow. Okay.
But then we're going to alternate that with a tasting. So we're going to do a flight and maybe some samples with it. Me and you had kind of talked a little bit about ideas with that. So those are some ideas that we're going to try to start pushing. Some more events around here is what we'd like to see.
What other event ideas do you have?
We'd like to start having some distillers come in and some some cigar companies come in and do pairings with those two if we possibly can.
Yeah.
But at the very least, have some rollers come in and maybe
that'd be awesome.
And, and I've got Brandon reaching out to several different distributors, and then Chris and us, all of our relationships with the distillers we have. I feel like we can bring in some. So that'd be what I'd really like to see: some bottle shares, some distillers come in and talk about their products.
Yeah, New Orleans has a cigar company. You should reach out to them because they roll them right there, just off of Bourbon Street.
Absolutely.
And it's incredible, man. They got a great product.
And I think that's the openness I was talking about earlier. We're open to anything. We like the experience, and we know it's not all about having the name brand, this or that. It's about an experience, and it's about something that reaches beyond just the cigar or whatever it is.
Yeah. You guys ready for another pour?
Fuck yeah!
Oh! The peanut gallery. We're gonna see if Luke can stay seated for more than 5 minutes.
I'm gonna go grab the water. I'll be right back.
Yeah. All right, we're back, and we've got the next pour for us is going to be Holmes K. This is your second barrel pick. Man, I'm a rum fan, huge rum fan, especially high proof.
Right.
And in this case, you have high proof, and you've got age.
Yes.
So it's like the double whammy here.
Right.
I think it's either 12 or 15.
Yeah, that one was really cool. So the unique one about that one, whereas you normally get samples of something, this one only had 2 casks ever made other than the entire world. So it's not like you can sample out of 4 different barrels. So I kind of we bought that one with the trust, that Holmes K knows what they're doing. We've tried many
100%.
of their products before, and we definitely were not disappointed. The whiskey wine finish on it, it's fantastic.
It's out of your barrels. This is my favorite, but again, I'm a rum fan, so
I like it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
What about the peanut gallery? Do you guys like the rum? The rum?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got an oh yeah. All right.
Hell yeah.
Oh hell yeah. All right. Cool. So great segue to a new venture.
Yes.
Right? You have something on the horizon.
Yes.
So 2 wasn't enough. You got Atlas as well, but your portion of that is like, hey, focus on vault arms and focus on Humidor.
Yeah, we have very good leadership at Atlas. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you're doing this, but you've got another thing on the horizon.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about this new concept.
Speaking of the bourbon stuff and kind of getting into that intrigue about it, it led me to, it would be really cool if there was a place where that love for bourbon could be personified to a crowd of people, if we could show people what we love about this product. And a couple of years ago, I started talking with Brandon again, like, hey, I think it'd be really cool to do a bar where, these picks are held, where we could hold these crazy events and do all this stuff. And we looked at buying a 3-story building and doing this crazy thing that was just way too much for me and him, honestly. And
I see Donkey Kong in 3
Yes,
story.
it was
Like, here's a
wild.
barrel, we're throwing it.
It even had an open center. Yeah, it was wild. And we wanted to have it where you could thieve out of the barrel and all.
Oh,
it's not to
yeah.
say that doesn't ever happen, right? Like, it's still a dream of mine. It's still something I could see happening eventually. But we realized we needed to scale it back and get a proof of concept in the barrel first. And, not to make it fun, and then it morphed into what do we do with the Humidor? How do we grow this experience here? We have the lounge, we have a good thing going, and we began renegotiating the lease on this space at the start or at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And at the time, the space next door, Blue Jewelers, was going out of business.
Yeah.
She's just retiring, deciding to get out of the industry.
You mean the sign actually meant that she was really going out of...
This time we're really
Because you see those out of business sales
Yes.
and all that.
And
Yeah,
it
go ahead.
gradually gets more and more, but no, she did. And so it led us to ask the question, well, why don't, that's a reasonable space. That's not too big. That's palatable for us. How do we, what does a bar look like? Well, like we've talked about, me and Brandon have all these things going on the outside. And we're not going to go work behind the bar and do that on top of it, right? But the relationships we have with Chris Rice, who is a phenomenal human being, and I hope you get to talk to him at some point.
We are. We're going to have him on here in a couple episodes.
Y'all love him. But
Well, I mean, I'm going to like Jenny. He's going to be like, kind of...
he'll be okay. We'll deal with Chris.
Yeah, we'll deal with Chris.
But
We'll deal with Chris.
The man has
We'll talk...
The man has an
Only
incredible
jokes.
palate, and he has an incredible idea and a vision for cocktails.
Completely agree. Completely
And
agree.
so the idea of him running a place like that is interesting to me in and of itself.
Yeah.
But then he has that dream too. He's had that dream to open a bar for several years.
Who hasn't?
Right.
Well,
if you're in this world, if you're in this world,
yes.
it's a dream.
Yes.
And he started working on it last year around kind of the same time we did, which was really funny. And it fell apart for similar reasons. It just didn't work out. It wasn't lack of desire, I guess is what you'd say. So the idea went to the back of the head. And when we started negotiating the lease, I started coming back around here again. Me and Chris started sitting down more and talking. And he's like, man, I want to start a bar. This is a dream of mine, a big one. And so seeing, again, like with my cousin, or, seeing the opportunity in somebody else who's hungry and ready to do something in their life beyond what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
And the roads meet at the right time.
Sure.
It's coming together in a good way, and we still have a lot of hurdles to jump through. The fun part of it, or the interesting part, is tomorrow we post our sign for the TABC, which starts a 60-day clock. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's exciting.
Yes,
Very
sir.
exciting. I was texting the landlords, and I'm elated. So I'm like, what time do we get in there?
Right.
Can we get in there at 8 a.m.? That'll start the 60-day clock.
Do I get a key or do I do sledgehammer?
Hey,
How do you want me to get in there?
We'll do what we got to do.
Right.
But once that 60-day clock starts, it's only a matter of who can get the license or not.
Right.
After that happens, it's only putting it together, which, again, just as funny as saying it's going to be easy to open a gun store, it's going to be easy to open a bar, right?
Yeah, no. Not in
I
Tyler.
have an illusion.
Not in Tyler.
The cool thing about doing what I've done in the past is getting to the point where you've experienced failures, you've experienced triumphs, you've experienced the hardships of getting to both of those, and it's gave you a diverse pocket of things to fall back on. Like, well, I've experienced that before.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It definitely sucks, but we can make it through.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the endurance that those experiences gave us helps us really push this one through, because I'd really like to see a place where, like you said, we can make picks out of there.
Yeah.
We can partner with the East Texas Whiskey Club to have picks represented there too. Whatever the vision could be, it could happen at a place like that.
I've got some ideas.
Yes.
I don't want to share them now.
Hey, me and you
but
got plenty of time to talk
I've got
about.
some, because build out hadn't started,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
Yeah, so I've got some ideas. Chris, sorry, I've got some ideas. But I mean, we can share.
You like ideas.
You've got ideas too? Okay, cool. We got ideas. We'll share them along the way, right?
That's what Tequila Thursday is
Yes.
for. Or
Yes.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
I think it'd be cool to have maybe. I don't know.
We'll get there.
I'm definitely not an interior designer. That's for damn sure.
Me neither.
But a construct and stuff like that.
My brain shows me things sometimes that work well.
Well, like I see Bar Rescue every time where they're talking about like flow and shit, and I'm like,
feng shui.
I'm like trying to figure out like what's going to be best. And
so the vibe of it will be, just to give a little bit of detail where I can.
Please.
Where we're headed is a private lounge, so we want to stay away from the food as much as we possibly.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We want the focus to be the craft cocktails that Chris is going to come up to, and hopefully some other people that we're talking to that you guys may or may not know.
Yep.
That are also really good in the cocktail industry. But then at the same time, be able to curate flights out of there and many other things.
Yeah. How big a space are we talking about here?
The space in and of itself is 1,900 square foot. We'd like to add a patio to it so that we can hopefully host some live music. It's not going to be like your rock band, folk band style. We're going to be looking more
one guitar band,
right?
Maybe
or,
two.
Maybe a harp if we could find the right person for that, or a jazz, or some sort of vibe music, stuff that keeps it really chill, like it is around here. We want it to feel like you're walking into a speakeasy that is very friendly, like a Cheers, like you said. It has the same kind of vibe, but it's more comfortable, more luxurious, and it feels like a place you could go after a nice dinner with your wife, or your best friend, or a person you're reconnecting with.
And maybe you have some salty snacks.
Yes.
Help out a little bit more.
Yes, and I mean there are opportunities to have maybe some chocolates there to help with flights, to have some maybe cheese flights there, to have some different type of meat boards going on, maybe some bread stuff, and I think that could be incorporated.
So what do you think the runway looks like?
To me, if the 60-day period falls the way it should on the TNB.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Scott's talking. I can't even hear him.
To me, if we hit the 60-day mark correctly, it would only take us about 90 days to really get that space built out.
Okay.
It's not going to be this crazy build out. We're going to be looking more to get the furniture, the fixtures, the bar to be the focal point of everything. And so if we feel like we do that, the build out shouldn't take 6 months.
Gotcha.
June, July, maybe August at the worst. Somewhere in there is where we hope.
Right.
So, if the TABC gives us trouble, that could go farther. If everything goes easy, it could be sooner. So we'll see.
So what does it look like when you're done? What does it look like? You got Chris at the helm. You've got a couple people, maybe.
So the
paint a picture of like what it looks like
vision,
operationally.
I mentioned the whole idea for me would be to create a bigger place. I don't know the size it would be. The size would need to be kind of adjusted for Tyler. Like, what does Tyler need? But then from there, I'd like to see a place where you can literally come in and the bartender has a thief in his hand, not just a bottle in his hand. And he's pulling straight out of a barrel into a glass for you that we have sourced. And I think those kind of opportunities could be really cool.
It'd be very cool. But
how does it work? And I know that's where your wheels are turning. And believe me, it's been a lot of time for me thinking those things too. How do we make that kind of idea work? But if not that, at the very least, I want to see it have a very diverse range of picks. So we'd like to start doing partnerships with other clubs, not just locally. So statewide, nationwide, whatever it is.
Sure.
We'd like to bring in tequilas, not just bourbons. We want to have rums in there too. But we want all these brands to be
sounds like Project Land.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Project Land.
We want to, I've been to a bar called 1919 in San Antonio, Texas with my wife and my sister-in-law. We got to go there one night. And I'm telling you, it's about a 40, 50-foot long bar that's stacked 3 to 4 shelves high, 3 to 4 bottles deep of everything you could possibly imagine.
Right.
I want to see a version of that makes sense for Tyler. And that's kind of what I was saying. That's San Antonio. They can do that there. We want to see how we make that work here.
Right.
And even personify on the fact that this is Texas. We have Texas bourbon here.
Yeah.
We would love to maybe have a spot on the Texas Bourbon Trail one day where we have representation, barrel picks from Lone Elm, barrel picks from Armory, all these places, and you can come in and get a Texas whiskey flight from the Texas Bourbon Trail.
Right.
That's something we've talked with people about as well.
Yeah. I think it's admirable to point out that there were challenges. You had challenges,
Sure.
and then you're able. You have the strength to do what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is. It's admirable to say that because look, I was with you on Tuesday night. Okay, right?
Yes.
And we were at a educational. We'll call it educational experience.
Yes.
And I saw what you did, right? And I think it's admirable that you know what you who you are, right? And you know your tendencies,
Yes.
but nonetheless, you still want to make sure that you exercise your what's the word? Your capabilities.
Yes.
You're,
Something that you feel like you're being trained for something at some point in life. And I shared with you earlier that I went through a period 3 or 4 years ago where I lost a good chunk of my family at one time.
Yes.
My father and both of my grandparents, who, if people who know me, I was incredibly close to my grandparents
Sure.
my whole life.
yeah.
And so, being placed, me and Brandon, as like kind of the patriarchs of the family, it teaches you very quickly that you now have a lot of people thinking about you, depending on you.
Right.
And you have to execute. It's not an
Yeah.
Failure is almost not an option.
Right.
And in your mind, it can't be. And it's something I instilled in myself a long time ago that I was going to put my big boy boots on, is what I always say, my big, tall wader boots, and I'm going to just keep walking through the swamp if it's a swamp. And I'm going to walk through the field if it's a field. But either way, I'm going to high step as high as I can and just put one foot in front of the other and keep walking. Your only other option, and this is just something kind of my granddad instilled in me, is literally to die. If you just sit and do nothing, if you just fall down and quit, you will die. And so that's something that me and Brandon have always held in our hearts, is not quitting. And we have faced some tremendous odds at different points in our lives, and it has always pushed us further to say, we're not going to quit. We'll be fine. Like I told you earlier, I know now that I can be fine in a very stressful situation because I've experienced high levels of stress.
Yeah, same.
It teaches you how to be that type of person that can open a business and deal with all the little things that go
Right.
on.
And sometimes, for me, I feel more myself
Yes.
when I'm in that.
Yes.
Like you don't feel like, for me, when everything's right,
Yes.
I
It is
don't
weird.
feel.
No,
I feel
feel
like
useful almost.
what. Well, for me, a lot of times what I do is I default to stress.
Yes.
So I stress out when shit is good.
Yes.
And when, but that's not healthy for relationships,
No.
for sure.
No, it's not.
But then, because you never appreciate.
No.
The,
You gotta learn to be comfortable with chaos and peace.
Yeah, you gotta do
and that's
both.
a hard thing when you come from a background of constant stress
Absolutely.
and no peace almost. It feels
Yeah.
like. And then you're like, there's nothing going on today.
Right.
What's wrong? Like, did I do
Right.
something? And it almost feels like you're not doing something right when things are going super good.
Yeah.
You're almost waiting for the other shoe to fall.
Right.
But you got to get out of that, sad sack mentality, I call it. It's negative, right? It's pessimistic. And you got to say, I'm going to keep working, whatever.
I think what it means is that when we go through challenges and you're good at challenges and you solve problems and you validate what you're capable of,
Yes.
right, to a certain degree. And so when you're not punching that validation clock,
It's what I said, useful, but I guess not as useful. It's a more, nice way to
Right,
say it. Because
but
you're
I mean-
still useful, but
the problem is that you got to slow down at some point and do reflection and, like you
Yes.
said, meditation,
Meditation,
and just figure out, like, hey, this is a good time. I did this for me. I did this for my family. I did this for whatever.
Yes.
I think it's a good thing.
yeah, last year I got very heavily involved with the whiskey club very quickly.
Yeah.
And I got very involved with bourbon buying and like all this stuff very quickly. And
For the humidor, right?
For the humidor
Yeah, yeah.
and for, the joy of doing it and everything else. And I very quickly realized I needed a better reason for doing everything that I was doing. I needed to understand the reason I was doing it.
Yeah.
And it's what took the time to spend more time with these guys instead of just buying the bourbon and just bringing it up here and just
Sure.
topping it off and just going through this motion of we're doing something.
Right.
Now going to actually see, like, I need to be a part of this in
Yeah.
a real way, and like sit down with these guys and invest in them and hear them and be a part of what's actually going on. Instead of just coming up with these thoughts in my mind of, oh, I want to do this or oh, I want to do that.
Right.
What is everybody else doing? You know, what do they want to do? Like you said, what's the pulse of the people around us? And when you take that step back and reassess, it really helps you.
No, it's scary for me.
It is.
Because you start seeing some shit.
It is. You start seeing some things about yourself you may or may not like, and you then have to either face those demons or choose to ignore them, right? Like,
Right.
That's something a lot of people don't. They struggle with. They get to this point of self-awareness, but then they never do anything with it.
Right.
They just attain self-awareness.
Yeah, for me, it's so I don't have any kids at home, and so I needed to fill a void in some way. And so that void for me was like chasing barrels.
Yes.
And so it's like,
I can
hey,
see that.
I'm going to chase the barrels. This is my baby kind of thing. And this is my kid. I'm working on this. I'm talking to this person. I start developing relationships with representatives.
Yes.
And distributors
They're
and stuff
some
like
of the
that.
coolest people.
They're great people.
So
They're
cool.
really, they work hard.
Yes,
they work damn hard.
And they know so much information about their
Yes.
audience. So
And then you start coordinating things and you start making things happen. So for me, like ASW was not distributed to Texas. It was not distributed to Kentucky. And so I put people in place and like, hey, do you know this person? Do you know that person?
Right.
Next thing you know, they're being distributed to Texas. They're being distributed to Kentucky.
That's a cool feeling.
It's a great feeling. But then you're doing barrel picks. And so then you start. I take a step back and I go, all right, how much time am I dedicating for this activity that you make nothing?
I was about to say,
Well, you
when
make nothing
ask
on
the
it.
question of what do you get out
Like
of
there's
it?
the only thing I get is a sensation of gratitude, okay, which is powerful,
And that,
very powerful.
Well, I think what you were talking about earlier, that bank of memories and moments
Yes.
and experiences that nobody else, unless they're in this, gets
Yes.
to do, right? Like
Right.
nobody else, unless you were involved in this industry.
Right, but how long does that carry on? And so for me,
But how cool does it get, right? Like
Yeah, I
the
mean-
level can only go so high.
look, when you do 20, 30,
Yeah.
40 barrels, at some point it numbs,
Yeah.
right? You're like, okay, this is another one.
Yep.
And you're gracious that you're getting to do
Sure.
it. There's no doubt about
No.
that. And in that moment, in that hour, 2 hours that you spend with that group, there's graciousness there, and there's a bond that's formed for that pick, because like when it releases and when people start tasting it, it's a representation of your opinion,
Right.
kind of thing.
And reflection helps you, like you said, pick apart the reasons you do it. And it
Right.
helps reignite almost sometimes that passion
Right.
that maybe got boiled down a little bit.
And closer and closer I start thinking, okay, well, my time's done. Like I need to pass the torch to somebody else.
Sure.
Because I've done what I've done, and I've been proud of what I've done. I mean, done a great job. I've influenced a lot of folks. I've had gratitude passed along. It's all I wanted.
Sure.
But
What's
when you
next?
get to a point, when you're barrel picking, and you get to a point where you feel like you need to be incentivized in some way, you need to get out.
You're not doing it for the right reasons.
You need to get out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a whole segue to a whole thing for me. You talk about purpose. I went through that whole year last year struggling with like why I do all of these businesses.
Yeah.
Beyond just, I have wife and kids. That's obvious. You
Yes.
know, I definitely do this for them first. They're
Yeah.
the first people I'm here for. They're my first responsibility. But I think when you're blessed with this initiative to do these things, and you're blessed with the means to do them and all that stuff, I think you are supposed to do something beyond just business with it. And so for me, I would like to start getting to the point where I can help people. So, especially in the underprivileged community, in the homeless community, in the drug addict, the people that are near and dear to my heart, because I am not unaware of the fact that if I didn't have the family I had, if I didn't have the mother I had, I could have very well just been another one of those homeless people walking around the street. And to me, it made me get out of this mindset of I just want to make all this money and retire one day and just be this rich guy or whatever it is. That's such a basic, just nothing dream, really. And if you boil it down, it's so unimportant. I would much rather get to the end of my life and have my kids see people I've helped or something I've impacted that's much greater than that.
Yeah, bigger.
Money is it comes and goes. I've seen it. I've been a part of it. I've seen money come and go. But the things you leave behind your family like that are eternal, and they're things that that nobody can take from you. They're things that are for you and for the people around you, and nobody else. So. Sure.
Are we gonna have one more pour? I saw you guys passing around a bottle. I think Luke took it. I think it was a. Are we pouring that or no?
The rum?
Yes.
No.
No, we did the rum.
This? Just do the rum.
Luke is the end of the
I had the Weller, sorry.
Luke is the end of the line for everybody.
Are you Luke? Are you?
I would go for cement.
Yeah. Are we passing that around?
Yes.
Atanasio, Scott wants some of this.
I'll take some of the Weller if it's already cracked.
It's cracked.
Yes.
What's a lot of cherry?
This is so good.
So good.
I posted it.
I liked it. It was good.
Facebook too.
Let's do a little bit of this.
Yes.
It's like foolproof on the front. Better foolproof.
It's better foolproof?
Well, I missed it.
Ooh, that's harsh.
Showed up with another bottle.
107 is better.
It's fantastic.
That's close. That's
107
close.
is your favorite.
107 is definitely my favorite.
Well, that's what that is.
What's that?
Oh, trust me, it's gonna be drink.
I need to bring some up here to sell for this place.
Even
It makes sense, but I'm also talking about getting some humidor.
Drew, I'm impressed.
Hey, John, want to do a
Yeah,
roast hat?
not bad, huh? You haven't watched it.
We need smoking jackets.
I haven't been invited.
It's oh my god. You bring your wife and we'll both have you on. Okay? She's more interesting.
She has bigger tits. Yes.
She does. There's no doubt about that.
And you have bigger tits than me.
Yeah, a little bit bigger.
So I'll
Yeah.
take a humidor flat.
I put it in the guy's chat, and they're like, they're loving it.
Oh, I'm not
It's
in
in the guy's chat.
I'm
It's
not
in
in.
Bros No Host.
Is she in there?
No, Bros No Host. I took a picture of you and Host.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And then also in Seattle, hanging out with Brent right now.
Who?
Coslow.
Oh, who is?
Jeremy Coslow.
Jeremy is.
He's with Brent in Seattle.
So I'm thinking about going up
You know I
there.
got put back in Bros No Host. Literally like
You got booted.
you're booted?
No, you got booted.
And Michael's like, oh fuck you.
I get booted every at the beginning of every football season.
I'm 3 boots. And Michael's like, Drew's got 5.
I get booted every year at the beginning of football season.
Oh, you mean Texas versus LSU or some shit?
No.
Because they're like, how the fuck Luke get back here? They're just fucking around.
Right. Yeah,
I'm back, baby.
Yeah, you're back. You're back and better than ever. Yeah.
I'm back, and I'm just ready to roll. I'm ready to get booted again.
All right, Blake, you ready?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, there wasn't much of a break. How long are these? An hour usually?
We haven't even gone an hour.
Don't you usually do an hour?
Hour and a half normally. You know
I
what?
thought you wanted viewers.
You know, hey, Josh Betts went almost 2 hours.
Talk about his wife and her dad. He said dad.
Like after the third pour, he was.
I don't think it works.
Bro, that dude could smash. That dude could smash you. Come on now. That dude could smash.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better not talk to about him, dude. He could smash you.
He's one of my
Okay.
best friends.
Oh, I know.
You one of your best friends. Come on.
My neighbor.
Everybody's your best
He's
friend.
my neighbor.
He's not your neighbor.
I thought I
He
was
lives
his
in a
best
gated
friend, Luke.
community, bro.
He still has a house in my neighborhood that I'm treasurer of the HOA.
You're what?
You're
He lives
treasurer
right
of the
behind-
HO.
His wife's
I thought you
house.
said you treasure.
His wife's house is rented in my HOA,
Oh, okay,
but he lives right behind me.
All right. Sorry,
And
this
action.
shit show is cracking me up.
Fuck.
Oh my god. Okay. All
Do
right.
anything productive with Luke.
Yeah. Sorry, Josh. Notate
you,
this moment here.
I'll do Saturday.
Please, Josh. Did you get some of this?
No, not yet.
Oh my God. You definitely need to get some of this. You want some right now? Oh my God.
Josh, do you have a lighter?
Yeah.
So like this cigar.
Oh, hey, Luke, can you stop talking and can you give him a lighter, please?
It's like asking the Pope to stop being Catholic.
I know. Oh my God. I've never met somebody that can't stop.
Here's
moving
my own
around.
personal lighter.
And your zipper's on. He looked.
I said I have no zipper.
Yeah. All right, you're on film, bro. You're on film. All right.
Okay.
We got one more segment to get through.
Cool.
Then we can fuck off the rest. God damn it. Fucking Luke. He's got a female bladder. Might as
Could have
well.
done that during the break.
Imagine the vagina.
Couldn't have.
That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like my kid when we get in the car.
Oh my gosh. Who has a bottle? Did you have a bottle?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just
Yeah.
show it to you. All right. Okay. That was a shit show. Okay.
It was fun though.
Yeah. All right. We're back from another segment, another pause. I'm having a little bit of Weller private barrel here, selected by Goody Goody, which more than likely they had the master distiller select the barrel.
Yep.
But I mean, I've never really had a bad barrel from Goody Goody, honestly. So they just do, Sazerac and Buffalo Trace do a good job for them.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to have a little bit of that. We talked about Houdinis. We talked about some future plans.
Yes.
You guys have been so nice to us. You guys have made a conscious decision, which I don't know if it's a good business decision or not. But
We'll
you
find
guys,
out, I guess.
yeah, exactly. You guys have decided to sponsor us or and represent us. I appreciate that so much. When we initially thought about this, I was doing sampling. We were doing just like straight up bourbon sampling, and we were doing it at the Beckham Hotel in Mineola. So props to the Beckham. We were doing sampling. Everybody didn't want to be around anybody. It was during COVID. There was no full-time softball. There was no full-time basketball. There was no full-time baseball. Like, everybody just wanted to do something. And so I did sampling. And then once COVID kind of pacified or it turned into flu, then everybody started going back to the full-time stuff.
Right.
And sampling kind of went.
As we knew it.
Yeah, sampling went away, and I was looking for another outlet, and I'd had a lot of friends tell me like, "Hey, you should do a podcast. You don't mind talking to anybody. You like talking about the things you're passionate about. It'd be fun. Ask good questions. You know, you're deep. You have some depth there. You don't mind asking uncomfortable stuff. Sorry, Mom. But anyway, so we decided to launch this podcast, and Josh was nice enough. We met at the Beckham Hotel one afternoon. I'm talking to him, like, hey, what are your thoughts about doing a podcast? And he's like, man, let's do it. He does a lot of short films, right? And you do photography. On the side, you do a lot of different things. I mean, he's very talented. He's a talented dude, and he was like, "Hey, man, I'll come on this journey with you." And I'm grateful for Josh, for him doing this type of stuff. He gets a ton of credit for all the things he does because he does all the stuff behind the camera. And the thing is like without him, this doesn't happen.
Right.
Because all the stuff he does is stuff I didn't want to do. And so he has a lot, there's a lot of credit there. But nonetheless, we have one other sponsor. It's Thomas Red Construction. Shout out to him. And then the Humidor and the Vault Arms stepped in to roll. You guys said, hey, look, we see value in this. We know that there's no other podcasts currently happening in Tyler that I'm aware of. Unless you guys know of anything else. There's one. Okay, well, they're probably like poor Shay. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I don't know of any personally, especially ones that are highlighting entrepreneurs, that are highlighting nonprofits, and that are highlighting, you know, people that are making a difference in the community. That's what I want to focus on. All this goes away, in my opinion. It goes to like people that are like yourself, that have businesses, that are trying to make a difference, that are trying to create environments where people can talk, have open minds, develop, be better people. And you and Brandon made a decision to kind of help us out and sponsor us and stuff like that. So what are the next steps for us? Like, what do we get? What kind of fun are we going to get into? Like, this is already fun. Like, we already have a lot of friends here. I can count a number of friends that are here.
My brain can take us to a million places.
Right.
Me and Chris, and then me and you have sat down several times and kind of mapped stuff out and talked about all these different interests.
Oh, we got a whiteboard.
Yeah,
we got a whiteboard.
We whiteboarded.
It's like, hey,
that's a new thing for me. But
right.
I try and whiteboarding. It helps me keep things kind of in my mind. But I don't know. For us, we definitely want to see these continue. And this is something that we look to do continually, as often as we can get Andrew and a meaningful podcast here, something that makes sense. We want to keep letting you have this here as many times as you want. When we do that, we're going to have this VIP section. These are people, that me and Andrew both know, but we'd like to keep getting that VIP section going every time. So it's something that we'd like other customers to have an opportunity to purchase into as well.
Yep.
That's one opportunity that we see coming on. Another one, and it's something we've talked about, I want to see us go to certain events out in the wild.
I'd love
to go to things like Bourbon Fest. I'd love to go to things, and they have those that aren't always in Kentucky. Like you can go, what is that one? Grapevine or something? Austin has one.
Yep.
Louisiana, you were just talking about, has a Bourbon Fest. And so I'd like to see us as a group,
creating content.
As a group, start going out and doing some other things out there. And we just want to be a part of, A, supporting, through sponsorship, and B, supporting with time, effort, energy, anything we can to be a part of that and be a part of the fun, and bring cigars, bring whatever we need to make it a good time. Like I said, I'd like to see you come to some of these bottle shares that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Maybe when we get a distiller that has interested you, more than others, that's a good opportunity to break down either before or after they come and have a session with you.
Right.
And I'd love to see those types of things start to happen more frequently as we go.
I definitely see like Stanley's possibly being, those bottle shares.
Love those
we
guys.
can do those things. I see an opportunity for us to maybe do something prior to live acts in Stanley's. I think that's an easy segue where it's like, hey, you're already setting up at 3 p.m. Why don't we jump in at 5 and have a 30-minute sesh
We got this
or an
man
hour
like Uncle
session?
Lucius coming on Friday. I mean, if
It's
that
too
opportunity
soon.
could have, sure.
Right.
Like that's not going to happen because it's 3 days away. But those people do come through that.
100%.
There are people interested in hearing about them. They've been around, at least Texas especially, for a while now.
And to sit down in a relaxed setting
Right.
and just talk about where they started.
Stanley's
tell the
such a
story.
pretty cool place too to lay out camera. You could get a cool shot.
And Nick's a cool guy too.
Oh, yeah.
Like he'd be great to talk about. So what? And then we also have the idea jar that we're going to do here, right?
Yes. So part of what we're going to do here is we're going to start having a shelf full of the ongoing events. It'll have a neat experience shelf. It'll have a Spirit Squared shelf, and then it'll have just an informational shelf. And on that Spirit Squared one, we want to leave a place for you guys to start putting ideas when you come in the store, what we could do as far as events, what you would like to see us talk about with podcasts, people you would like to see us bring in. Like, somebody in Tyler that's interesting that Andrew could have on the show. We'd love to hear about it. And then we'd like to do some sort of giveaway associated with that. I know me and Andrew have talked about a cigar, something nice, something you would actually want to participate in. Those are going to be other opportunities we'd like to get to as well.
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate it.
Yes.
We'll do official.
Absolutely.
Which we did kind of virtually.
Sure.
But really appreciate your support. You and Brandon, obviously, making it a little bit more than just kind of like something fun that Josh and I do.
Yeah.
It's we just thought of it like as something we would just launch and just see where it takes us.
Sure.
But I mean, it's making it a little bit more real for us, and then obviously open up to ideas on adjustments, adaptations.
Yes.
You know, what do we want to know? What do we want to see? That type of thing. Adjustments to the podcast. We want to see certain things. I'm not trying to be someone who lets people influence me in a certain way, but I value the feedback because I know where the place that you're coming from, and so I value that piece just like I would anyone else. So very, very cool. I'm looking forward to that partnership.
Absolutely.
I think that Humidor and the Vault are dignified businesses that we love to affiliate ourselves with. You guys do a great job with the community. With Tyler, you have good convictions, and you guys serve a purpose that I feel is very fulfilling. So,
Trying to.
yeah. All right, so we're to the final segment, man. We made it through it, barely. These guys kind of made it through it. We made it through it. This is the portion. I didn't expect. I mean, I thought you were going to do shout-outs throughout the whole podcast, but you didn't. You held back, which is fine. I mean, some people do, some people don't.
Right.
And this is the time. This is my favorite time, honestly, because this is where the guest, and really, I mean, that's my favorite part about this podcast is like the focus is on you. Really,
Sure.
It's like making sure that we get out like the best of what we can about you, your business, give some background, and give kind of everybody who's listening or that video, listen to it or watch it. Who do you want to appreciate? Like, what are some people that? Hold on, I'm gonna set it up. I'm gonna tee it up for you. All right, not Luke Lottman for sure. No, I'm joking.
I've already given these guys an upgrade.
I know. But I mean, so people that are influential in your life, people that impact you daily, people that are rocks,
Sure.
Sponsors, people that were mentors. Those are the type of people that we want to make sure that we recognize tonight.
So what you could call, I guess, the group of 4 or 5 people that are the ones that have been with me since from when I was a child to today.
Yeah.
Besides my wife and Brandon. My mom, my Aunt Carol, and my Aunt Michelle, and my cousin Hunter. Those 4 people were completely instrumental in saving my life at a point where I almost died.
Yeah.
And I literally would not be sitting here today if it wasn't for those people taking action when it needed to be taken. So, how can you not do, giving them appreciation feels small, but that is some of the most appreciation I could ever show is saving my life for those people.
Yeah.
Second, obviously, is my wife, man. I'm going to tell you something that I always mess with my wife about is she's a serial encourager. That's what I call her. She is a hopeless optimistic who always wants to encourage the people around her, wants you to feel like you are $1 million person, like you're the best at what you do, and has always done a good job at making me feel like I'm the baddest dude around, and that she absolutely adores me. So I am truly, like when I say that, blessed to have the type of wife that I feel like I have. And with our children to add into it, I mean, they mean everything to me, truthfully and wholeheartedly. Outside of that, though, you've heard me mention Brandon several times.
Sure.
And, he started out as just a friend to me. I mean, that's a brother in every sense of the word that you couldn't possibly fathom.
Right.
He was the first person to be there with me the day that my dad died.
Yeah.
The first person to be there with me the day my grandmother died. It was a consequence of timing, right?
Yeah.
But he was there, and he showed up, and he gave me the biggest hug he could ever give me. And
Right.
that man has walked with me through some of the hardest times I've personally ever been through.
He was present.
And he was there at every point. And so, yeah, I can't thank him enough. And getting to do all this cool stuff with somebody who you trust to that degree is truly special, and
Right.
it's something that not a lot of people get to experience, as I'm well aware. I've been told by my counselor 100 times, not very many people have a business partner that they get along with like that. You know, usually there's some break point or there's some horrible thing. We've not had it yet. I pray every day that we never do, and I don't think we will. Aside from that, literally every member of my family. I wasn't one of those guys that was traditionally close to a lot of friends growing up. I had close friends. I was involved in church and stuff, but the main people I was with was my family, always. Sure. So they mean everything to me, truly, and I would drop anything I had at the drop of a hat for me.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you guys, man, genuinely, like the Whiskey Club, you, Dan, all these guys, Scott, Luke, y'all brought me into a world of friendship that I did not have before. Like, truly, like, I was at a place where I just had a few friends and I was cool with everything, but I got to meet at least 100 really, really cool people that now about 20, 10, 15 of them, whatever it is, I call actual friends and, like, people I care about and talk to on a daily basis about a lot of stuff. So it's been a ride, man, especially over the past few years, but I can't say how thankful I am enough to those people that have stuck with me through thick and thin from day one.
Yeah. I know you have some people at the Vault.
Yes.
And at Humidor, right?
Yes. Obviously, you can't, like I've said 100 times, you can't do this without great staff.
Right.
And one of my favorite things is I feel like I get praised on the staff that we have around more than most businesses I see. Like, I feel like people more often come to me and tell me, I love that guy working for you. And it makes me feel happy. Brandon, Amanda, Jenny, Matt, Clayton, Carson, our gunsmith Jay, man, that guy, I'm telling you, he's been in the shop working by himself. We had our apprentice leave us because he wanted to go to college and do this other stuff. And he has had to pick up every bit of mantle, and that's a good man right there. You want on your team. So we couldn't do it without the team of employees we have. We got 300 of them at Atlas, so it's hard to say. But I'm telling you right now, some of them have worked for 20 years for that company. Knew my granddad, knew me when I was this big, and still know me today. It's weird the things you get to be a part of when you own businesses, but the appreciation is so broad from the people that love you and care about you, and it's hard to say thank you to them all, but I truly appreciate all my employees as well, absolutely.
Very, very cool, man. It's awesome to have you on, man. You're like a layer of a layer of a layer of a layer, and the more we talk, the more layers. Honestly, I'm not saying this for camera or for anything else, but the more we talk, the more I'm like, shit, we're the same there. We're the same there. We're the same there. And I haven't owned a lot of businesses, but I felt like I've owned it because that's just my mentality. Like when I take over a territory, or when I
know you're involved in it.
And so I feel like, hey, I've owned it, or I felt like I owned it because I put a lot of energy in it, a lot of focus in it, and stuff like that. And so it's awesome getting to know you more and more. And I see you as a true friend, and obviously sponsor too. But it's just a matter of just more time, and we're gonna do more. I mean, it's gonna be fun. This has been really fun to do the podcast here. It feels like it's a start of something new and interesting. I think everybody have a good time. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Everybody have a good time. It's been fun. It's something new to do here. I loved it. It was interesting. There's something special about having a conversation with somebody and then just let them unleash what they want to say. Sure. And within an hour and a half, you get to learn a little bit, but some things you've heard before, and it validates what you've heard.
I can't wait to sit in on some of these and kind of be a part of the other side of it too, man. I was listening to some today just to prep and be thinking and everything. So I was listening to the one with you and Trent on the way here.
Yeah.
Which he wants to come back on.
Oh, I love to have people back on because then it's like, okay, well, this is the newest thing. 100%.
Yeah.
But he got a little starstruck a little bit a couple times. Like he was like, wait a minute, I don't know if it's the mash bill that I thought, and it's fine. Like It's not a big deal.
We know Trent loves to talk.
Oh, yeah.
Once you
100%.
get that guy going,
Yeah,
he can
yeah.
talk. He's very knowledgeable.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate
Thank
it. It was awesome hearing your story. Obviously, there's lots that we haven't heard, but the good parts we heard. Thanks so much for coming on Spirit Squared.
Anytime.
Our next podcast is going to be our national guest, which you were thankfully willing to exchange with. We've got Kobe Danette coming on from Fortaleza, whatever you want, or Los Abuelos, whatever you want to call it. He's going to come on. It's going to be an awesome podcast. Not to diminish this one. It was awesome. Really fun.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Kobe's going to be a great guy to interview. It's going to be episode, I think, 16 or so, something like that. So it'll be a great time. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.